Okay, I've been over, I've given this a little bit of a rinse out and just to tidy up really. Then I have a new bearing for the main distributor shaft. Now for those interested, it's an RL S.40170. 2RS I believe it's a sealed bearing. Now the old one wasn't sealed, the new one is sealed. And when I show bearings, often people say, oh yeah, you pull them apart and you fill them with grease and they'll last a lot longer and all that. So look, I spoke to the bearing people about that and they said, no, look, no need. 2LSR4, I'm just checking the numbers. There's another number there, LOT 170112. I'm not sure what that number is, it's not the number on the box, but these bearings are made in Japan. But yeah, they say they've got enough grease in them. Now, when you think about the distributor on your tractor here, the amount of turns it does at 2000 RPM, put that into perspective. When on your automobile, on your ute, car, truck, whatever it is, you have a pulley this big doing say 5,000 revs, 3,000 revs. Driving a little pulley that big on the front of your car to do your air conditioning. And they have sealed bearings out of the factory and they last like 100,000 kilometres. So they last well. So look, I'll just sneak over. I have the press, my little press over the back. I'll go and press this on. You have to support it on the inner, not the outer. And I'll press this on and I'll come back. Okay, there we go. Bearing on, spacer is in. So we can slide this down into the housing now. But what we'll do, we'll put a bit of oil on this bush. So we've oiled the shaft up, so just so the bottom bush down there has a little bit of lube. That's feeling pretty good. We just need to get that bearing sitting right down into the housing, so that's that feels like she's pretty well there. I'll see if the pin lines up. Now, which way do we need to go? This way. I'm sure the other distributors I've done have had a bigger hole there. But anyway, perhaps not. So we line that up, we check our pinhole. The pin looks like it's going to line up nicely. I'll give my trusty vice here again. Where are we? I can see through that just nicely there. I'll give that a bit of a tap. That feels a bit firm there now. This bearing can't be sitting down properly. I'll just go over to the vise and I'll just make sure that this, we'll just make sure that it's sitting down firm. Well, that's what we wanted. I didn't have the bearing sitting right down, and to get the bearing right down you can come through the plate there onto the outer of the bearing and just drop it in, and I didn't have it sitting right down. Now I do. Okay. Where to from here? Right, we've cleaned all this up. That's looking good. There's no real wear there or anything like that. I'll grab a little bit of grease. Bit of LSA, LSR2. I don't think it matters what sort of grease you use here. Let's just use a good grease. So we're going to grease that shaft a little. And where these fellas sit down, you can see the pivot there. I usually just pop a bit of oil there. And drop him on, get on there. Pop him down over. I probably should have put this on while I could get around it before I put it in the housing, but then I wouldn't have been able to knock the bearing in, I suppose. Get that fella down on there. It's not quite sitting down where it should be yet. There we go. And then we'll bring this fella down. Line the holes up. Oh shit. Don't do that. That fella in there, bring this fella around here. There we go. So you can see it as that opens up, it advances. Alright, I'll just check those weights are in the right place. I've got I just had a bit of a brain fade there and I'm thinking, oh, I better check that. But hang on a sec, I'll be back in a minute. Yeah, look, I just actually shot off to check that I had these in the right holes. Sometimes you're doing something and you think, oh, I can't remember if that's right or not now. So I had to go and do that, have a look. So now, coming down from the top here, we can put our retaining screw back in that holds the whole show together. And we'll just nip that up. I'll just and once that's done, we still need to check that this turns nice and freely on the shaft there, that we haven't tightened it up. There's a little bit of end float there, that's good, just a little bit. That's a good thing. So I'll just pop a bit of, just a drop of oil on those pivots, a little bit down the centre, and that should be okay. That's all we need to do there. You can see the weights are expanding as they need to. Okay, what's next? This bloke. He goes in and lines up. The little tip there lines up with the hole coming straight out. And we should have a couple of little screws just to hold that in place for the moment. Another screw over the back here. And we can tighten those two screws down. What I like to do is put the screw in over the other side here, the screw that holds the condenser in. Just put that in loosely. So we know if we nip these up, that screw's still going to go in. Just nip him up. You don't have to strip him. And this one should still be nice and free. So when we put the condenser on, we're good to go. Now, this was the old condenser. There was a few different condensers used, but you'll see there was a big long place for the condenser and there's only a short one in, so that would be one bought from somewhere. What we may have to do is make up a wire. They did have like a link that come from the condenser, with the condenser going in there. There was a link that come from there across to the main power terminal here, and it was actually a steel link, but at some stage when they've put these points on, they've decided that they didn't need that and they've taken that out. And look, that's no big deal, we can work with that. We may, that will go in through there. Now this fella here, he sits in there nice and square and insulated. So we just have to have a look and make sure everything's insulated through here. And I'll have a look at another distributor and see if I have the proper brace to come across here to take the power to the condenser or not. And it'll be easier to put that on here before we actually hook the whole lot in there, just for convenience really. All right, we'll go and have a look and see if I can find one of these braces, and we'll be back in a minute. Well, there you go. I've been for a walk up to my little machine shop where I had a couple of distributors sitting, and I found an original condenser with the original bar still on it. So what we'll do, we'll just loosen this off here. And we'll put it on the This condenser's a Sparex S.42373. It looks good like the original. And we put it like that with that little hook down. So when we sit it into the distributor, it can just slide down to where it needs to be. We're leaving a shake-proof washer on that side there, then the bar, then a new shake-proof washer, and then the nut. So that can go somewhere like that. Oh, come on. Then it can then slide in under the head, the square head on this bolt here. So we'll take out this screw that holds the plate in. go. You can pop the condenser in, sit him down in the groove, and in our case here, see it's touching the side there, so we have to bring the bracket up so it sits back further. And we should be able to pop that screw in there and do him up. Okay, so we have an air gap there of a couple of millimetres. That's okay. We'll bring this bloke in through here. Then this fella hooks down over there. And I should be able to get a little ignition spanner and nip that up. Alright, that'll want to stay there now. Now through the back here, we have this plate once more. There's a rubber that goes between the plate and the nut here. And then there was a big fella there, then that goes on the outside. But this first up, this fella here, goes on the inside. That should just hold that in place now. I need to so we've got the condenser sitting in place. It's sitting down far enough that the plate sits in properly. We should be able to get our points in there now. And our points are an S.42372. I think I had some of that last out of the frame a bit, I'm sorry. You get sort of carried away. Now on all your points, make sure you give them a good wipe first. They do have a waxy thing on them sometimes, a little bit of wax. Then make sure you take that off. That looks good. So your points go down on the pivot. Now the two biggest screws there that you would have had with a flat washer under each. They just pop in here loosely for the moment. Alright, so we'll just take them up and back them off a bit. So the points are moving there okay. Now we have to put this washer on, that's important. Then we get a bit of grease and put on the rotor, on the pivot, just a little bit on the rubbing block there. Then as we bring the points down, I just put a bit of grease on the points, which is no bloody good. And then we have to bring this little arm here, he comes around and sits right in next to where the condenser comes in. And I've got that wrong there. You can see I've got one leg of it one side of the condenser and one leg the other. I actually like to have it between the condenser and the nut, you know, and the square head there. So once they're both sitting down nicely, that's when you can tighten this fellow up. I like to try and keep that fairly square, just to so you're not putting extra stress on the insulation. That's it, holding down there. Okay, so that's not going anywhere. You can see the points opening and shutting there. We still have to set the points gap and things like that, but that's fine. Okay, now this rubber seal here, it comes down over the top, and that just keeps the wires coming in from the coil. It keeps it away from around the body there. Now we'll bring these two out. And this one they've put a bigger washer there. And look, there's no real need, I don't think. If we just put that nut down there, put this fella down through. So that's just nipped up tight. Then I'm not going to put that flat one there. I'm going to put that one there and this bigger one there. Actually, there's a little shake-proof one here I like. These little shake-proof washers, they're good for electrics. We'll put him there. Okay, so that's good enough for that there. You can see we've got a huge points gap, about 1/2 kilometre I reckon. Okay, so let's find some feeler gauges. Now the book says about 17 thou. I always open them up a little bit more, I reckon they run better. So when I find my little, so let's go to 20 thou. Yeah, the book says 17, and I always like to take them, open them a bit, And I always do it in case there's a bit of wear in this shaft here and a bit of bush wear and something like that, which we know this hasn't got, but I just reckon it gives them a little running in period as well. So while we're on the right up on the top of the cam, as far as we can go, so you can see right up as far as we can get to on the cam there. We put our 20 thou feeler gauge in, and I need to tighten this up a little bit. We'll nip that up. Pop him up. Top of the cam. That's just, yep. Actually, that's a tad loose now. There we go. So I'll just nip those points up. So we know they can't move. And your distributor turns anti-clockwise. 1, 3, 4, 2, you reckon? That'd be 1. Actually, it's the other way. Anyway, the rotor usually sits the back of the rotor. Here we have one here, an S.42374. You see the tab goes opposite, the lock tab goes opposite where the rotor sits out. So there we go. So normally the wire's out where you can see it. So that'd be, the block would be here, so that'd be 1, 3, 4, 2. Bloody beautiful. Okay, oh, get that off. Now this here is a weather seal, a weather shield. Supposed to stop all the rubbish from getting in. A tad of grease on the felt, bit of oil, bit of grease on the felt. We'll pop that down over the top there. We'll put the rotor on. Oh, it's looking good. And what's the distributor cap number? S.40170. The distributor cap. So that bloke sits on and away we go. Made in England. So we'll pop our little brackets back on. We'll straighten them up. There we go, and we'll just open one side, but we'll take it down towards the body, not away from the body. That'll do. Same here. Bring him in. on. Cap should be on. There's a little spring-loaded carbon button there, that feels good. That can sit on there. Get on there. We can click the lid on. Okay, that's a distributor for our little TEA. That'll do. That'll be doing the distributor up. That's I hope you got something out of that. A bit hard to see some of it, and I had it out of frame. Anyway, bloody hard to get good help, really, isn't it? But next time you see this, it'll be sitting on the tractor, and we'll probably be getting ready to fire it all up.